Welcome to Future Talk. On today's program, we're going to talk about the rapidly changing world of robotics. I have three guests. On my right is Erin Rapacki, Marketing Director of Suitable Technologies, which is a company that makes telepresencing robots. To my far right is Nate Koenig, Senior Robotics Engineer at the Open Source Robotics Foundation, which is a non-profit whose mission is to support the development of open source robotic software. And to my left is Karen Shakespeare Koenig, a mechanical engineer and robot designer at SRI International, where she specializes in medical and surgical robots. Erin, I understand that you've brought one of your telepresencing robots into the studio, and we're going to see a demonstration of it very shortly. But first, you also brought a video clip of the beam in action. So we're going to show that clip first and then come back to the studio. So let's go ahead and roll that tape.
The beam has helped us as a family because when you have a member of your family that has lost everything, movement, speech, so he's literally trapped in his body, the beam is actually taking Henry to places that he could never go to.
Once the beam is set up, I can log in and go for a walk anytime I want, with no help from others, even if the beam is physically located on the other side of the world. Call it the democratization of culture. It's the closest I have come to walking in the 11 years since my stroke.
The beam has taken Henry from a man that has locked-in syndrome to freeing him to go visit people, interact with people. And what that means is it freed him up mentally from his body. He's doing what he loves. He's living his life.
Okay, so that was our video of the beam. Now, just how difficult is it to learn how to drive that thing, Erin?
Well, in fact, my colleague Brianna is here using the Beam Pro. She may join us.
Oh, Brianna, welcome.
Hi.
And Brianna can help answer your question. How easy is this to use?
Sure, it's super easy. It's just an app that you download from the internet onto your desktop or laptop. And then I'm just using my arrow keys to move the device.
Now, where are you actually located physically? You're not in this building right now.
No, I'm across the way on another side of Palo Alto.
Now, how good is your vision in that machine? Can you see something at your feet so you don't trip over it, for example?
Yes, I have two cameras. I'll show you what my view looks like.
She's using a screen sharing button.
So here's what you look like to me.
Okay, so you're looking at the scene in the studio, and then that window on the bottom, you have a camera pointing downward, it looks like. And how long does it take to learn how to operate it? Can anyone pick it up and drive it safely in about 5 minutes?
Oh yeah, or less. People pick it up really quickly just because it feels like second nature when you're using your arrow keys. You can also use a mouse or even a joystick if you prefer.
And Erin, what exactly do people use it for? What do you see as the most popular uses?
Well, many customers are purchasing it for inter-office communication. They have offices in cities all across the world, and they want teammates and colleagues to be able to collaborate more effectively with each other. Another use case are remote employees, people who work from home, where from home they may beam into the office, and instead of feeling isolated in their home office, they are part of the team. In fact, my creative director at Suitable Technologies lives in Detroit, and he spends 8 hours of every day beamed into our office to help assist us with projects.
Now what is the video part of the iBeam? Is that basically an iPad or is it something else?
She sees something that's downloaded on her personal laptop or desktop, any Windows or Mac machine. So she just downloaded a software client and is video chatting with us, similar to a Skype session. But Brianna, as she discussed, has the additional ability to drive herself around.
Now, does someone have to have physical custody of the machine? Let's say you're driving the machine and the machine is miles away. Do you have to have somebody else on scene to watch over it and make sure it gets plugged in at night?
It really depends on the venue. So If it's in an office far away, I can drive the beam onto a dock and recharge myself. So I don't need somebody on the other side to help me. However, it's good to ask permission. So when we bring beams to trade shows and their public spaces, typically the trade show management would like for somebody to walk and accompany the beam, but it's actually not the person driving the beam that's the problem. It's more the audience, the people who are seeing it for the first time. Sometimes they get excited.
I understand that the beam got some publicity recently when it was used at a TED Talk. What was that all about?
Right. Edward Snowden used the beam for his TED Talk, and
he was the NSA leaker.
Yes, we're just very proud to see that Snowden chose to use Beam instead of a normal video conferencing system. It's curious that South by Southwest he used a different system where he was fixed to a screen, and I was happy to see pictures where he was able to interact with other guests at TED and have a presence during the event.
Does this have medical purposes so that a doctor could visit his patients remotely and maybe even diagnose them, maybe if you had some sort of sensors attached to the device?
Possibly. We do have one customer who has a medical practice with different offices, and these offices are hours apart. And so he spends different days of his week at different offices and then beams into the office he is not currently located. And this helps him keep better track of his operation and his staff.
Now, in technology today, you're never satisfied with any product. You're always looking for the next round of enhancements. What do you see as potential enhancements for the beam, without giving away proprietary trade secrets, of course?
Well, we have launched a new product called Beam Plus, which is far more priced at a friendlier level for consumers. So people may put, this one is Beam Pro, which is meant for enterprise use cases, and it's priced for an enterprise type of outfit. But the Beam Plus is at $19.95, and they can put that in their home.
Do you see a day when it'll have hands and it can not only watch, but it can also pick things up?
Someday, but that's going to add some price, and we want to focus on making sure the communication aspect is accessible.
Are you going to get one yourself someday? Do you expect to wheel it around?
Actually, I pre-ordered a Beam Plus for myself. I plan on sending it to my grandmother. Mm-hmm. My grandmother is sick, and so the Beam Plus can be in her apartment, and that way my parents, my father, myself, and the other grandchildren, we can beam in to her apartment and check up on her.
So people can watch you. It's not only a means for you to watch the rest of the world, but for the rest of the world to watch you.
Certainly, for when I have children someday, I would have a beam in my household so my parents can come visit their grandkids.
Is this mostly an engineering problem? And what's the hard thing about designing this? It looks fairly simple in a way.
Well, things that are simple took a lot of work. So some of the things that customers get to take for granted that work well with Beam Pro is access point switching. So when you're carrying around a laptop and you switch access points down a hallway, you don't notice because you're a user and you can wait a second for a page to refresh. In the past, a telepresence device would drop the call as they switch access points. So we have software and radios that help with that part. Also, our audio works very well at trade shows and in factories. So in the past, if you used any kind of speakerphone equipment, audio conferencing equipment, it would pick up all the noise. But here, we cancel out ambient noise from trade shows and factories. So if you beam, we have another customer who beams into his factory in China. All the loud noise is canceled out so he can hear the person he's speaking with, and the person he's speaking with can hear him. Sounds
great. I look forward to getting them one of these days. Brianna, thank you very much. Great meeting you here, and we'll hope to see you again sometime.
Take care.
And now let me turn to Nate Koenig, who is a senior robotics engineer, also the chief technology officer of the Open Source Robotics Foundation. Now, you also brought a video of something called the TurtleBot. We're going to go ahead and run that video, and then we'll chat. Let's go ahead and roll that tape.